clip as we start wrapping up. I want to kind of put it all together and talk about efficiency, because it's very inefficient to try to learn tennis one tip at a time. And you know, a lot of you out there who love to consume online do-it-yourself videos, you know, I would strongly recommend that you go with Jack Broudy instead of this guy over here who says the 5 steps to the serve, and this guy over here that says the 9 different steps. And then there's the one guy who you see his ads all the time, and he says, if you do this one thing, and then you get them and you look at them and you go, oh, well, 4 of these things disagree with each other, right? And then, oh, that guy says that same thing, but in a slightly different way, and now I'm confused. Well, that's the gist of it. That's what's wrong with tennis teaching is this trying to reconcile things. And then one thing that's also really important to understand is when you have a principle, when you have a concept, then your brain can really reconcile that and you can grow into it. But if you have 9 steps, you're trying to figure out when does one start and the next one begin, that creates a lot of difficulty for your brain. And I get a lot of people on the court. Sorry, this is a long introduction, but I think it's necessary. I get so many people on my court who make checklists in their minds of things that they're trying to perform in sequence. And it's impossible to do that. You can't think your way through it as you do it. It's just not going to work. So I'm totally 100% in on the concept that tips don't work. Another important thing that's a problem is that people have paralysis by analysis. So they take their one tip and they're thinking, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? Was that a good one? Was that a bad one? And then they get into all this subjective judgment stuff. And so, Jack, how does your system kind of help people avoid a paralysis by analysis, death by tennis tips, and subjective judgments?
Well, that's interestingly put and good question. I guess what I told the people yesterday was, you know, we had a laugh. Every day it's interesting, but yesterday I was asked, do you teach the serve differently to women than men or girls than boys? I'm like, no. You know, I never could understand that anyway. In fact, I said to him, I said, I don't teach you folks 3.5 to 4.5 players any differently than I'd work with a teaching pro or a touring pro or a beginning 6-year-old. I try to treat people like they're bright, and I try to educate them instead of saying, just put your elbow here on the serve, get your elbow right there and you'll be fine. That's telling them what to do, and it's treating them like they're dumb and they, you know, and they're not capable of thinking. Just do what I say. And I just try to explain to people, look, you know, you see, as I move my hips, you see how the ball goes back and forth, you know, and then I do these, you know, and then I pick up the 2. It's hard to do in a seat. I'll see. I might have to stand up here, but I try to explain to people, look, this is, you know, this is an education. These are formulas. There's no room in here, but.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we can see that well.
Yeah, so that's a sine wave right there. So I try to treat people like they're bright, and I give them respect, and I treat everyone the same, women, men, young, old, pros, amateurs. So just, I thought it was an odd question. Do you teach women to serve differently than men? And I thought it was a silly thought, but I understand why, because, you know, all the pros, the tips are bring your feet together, bend your knees, stand up. But only a great athlete can figure out, or a natural athlete can figure out exactly how they'll make it work despite the tips. They'll make it work. But most people can't just take a simple tip but if you explain the philosophy of how things like this work and treat them with a little respect and educate them, I think they can really take it on themselves. And then tennis is a lot more simple when you say, oh, the 45, that's the main thing. Stay on the 45, and then stay balanced on the 45, and then use your hips to create this sine wave that goes from small to big.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, that's the answer you might be looking for.
Well, and I think part of the reason why I'm a big Jack Broudy fan is that the way your system really goes and lines up with all the other things I teach. So I wrote a book called The Athlete-Centered Coach. And so this Jack Broudy system is athlete-centered because it teaches things that people can consume and they can use and they can learn and they can grow into. Other types of teaching are not athlete-centered. They're coach-centered. They're coach command-driven instead of player discovery enabling, right? And then also, having written visual training for tennis and now coming to the realization that now I've become one of the leading experts in the world on visual training. Another really key piece is that almost all of Jack's tips have a when and a where to them.
No tips, just advice.
Okay, oops. all of Jack's teachings, principles have a when and a where to them, and those are easy to process. When you have when and where on your mind, then it goes through the faster pathways of your brain. But as soon as you go to how to, or you're thinking, what is it? How do I do it? Then you're using a pathway that gets really confused. There's a lot of different little things. I have a little diagram that I'm going to put on the screen in a moment that you'll see.
Because tennis really is the king of sports, right? With a racket that's yay long and the ball that's moving quickly, and then you're running, and everything's moving, right? But you have to treat the ball like it's on a T-ball, sitting still. You put your heart on the line, and I would just say stick with it, because if you understand these core fundamentals that I talk about, and there's only 3, and even though I am considering adding a 4th one soon, I'll let you see that, but that's still the evolution, but it's still all the same thing. I've come read the free book. I mean, it's a 20-minute read. It's got a lot of pictures. You can get it on the website just by putting your email address in there, and take a look at the free book. And I think it would turn your head and change your viewpoint and change your opinion on tennis.
Yes.
It's not that difficult. Every stroke is the same, whether it's the serve or the forehand or even the volleys. It's just an abbreviated figure 8 at the 45. And when you only have 3 things to worry about, instead of, point, a trophy pose, bring your feet together,
right,
bend your knees. When you only have 3 things to think about, you don't have to do what most coaches do with their players, which is, let's do the high forehand volley today. All right, we're going to really work on that for 10. And then I will do the ball that's, coming really fast. And you try to learn 75 different shots and put a game together, rather than just have one philosophy that applies, that you can use your intellect and use your feel. That one philosophy will work with whatever ball comes to you. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
You don't need to learn 75. There's high forehands, low forehands, topspin, slice, side spin. You don't need to learn every single one of them. You just have to have a philosophy that you're true to. And then the game really opens up for you, and you can handle anything you're dealt.
Awesome sauce. And so right now on the screen, you're going to see flashing the link. It's also going to be in the show notes. And then the website that you can go to directly will be there. So, Jack, thank you so much for coming on. I'm
My pleasure.
I'm honored to be able to assist in this way, and I have to thank you, because you've been one of the major influences in the way I teach tennis, And I
You know,
can't thank you enough. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I have to flash back before I let you go because you had an interesting list of 5. I happen to be friendly. I am friendly with Dick Gould, and he's very inspirational. And Lear is very psychological.
Yes.
And it seemed like, and Stowe was a little bit more like me, I guess, technically.
Yes.
A little bit more, but really just he and I are the only 2 technical guys. Everyone else was, from I remember your list was, I thought, inspirational, psychological, footwork, and it still might have been more footwork too than me, actually. And then it's an interesting group. You don't have like 3. You don't have McLennan. You don't have 3 guys that do the same thing. You just sort of have one guy for each of your components, which I thought was interesting.
Well, a person needs to be well balanced in their approach, don't they? Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Hey, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, Jack. And
mine as well.
So we'll be sending these out, and you'll be able to look at them all at once or in one in some nice little 5-10 minute chunks. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.